Now if I select my first person controller, we can see over here in the character controller component that the height is 1.8 meters, or about 6 feet. So now let's go back to Blender and let's create a temporary object, just a cylinder that we can import into this scene to get a sense if our scale is actually going to work. So let's go back to Blender. And here in Blender, I'll go ahead and delete the cube by pressing the X key and then choosing delete. And I'll go to the Create tab and create a cylinder here. I'll press the N key to bring up the Properties panel, and let's scroll up and take a look at how big this is. Now this looks to be about 2 meters high. That's about the size of our character. Let's increase our scale. Let's change it from 1 to 2. And that makes the dimensions of our cylinder increase to 4. So let's give this a try and see how this works. I'm going to change the name of this cylinder to maybe Test Building. And before I take this Blender scene into Unity, I'm going to go ahead and delete the camera and the point light here in the scene. We won't need those. So I'll hit the X key and delete. And now if we save this scene, and I'm going to call this Blender file, I'll just once again call this Test Building. And I will save that. And then let's go back to Unity. And just like the image that we dragged in, I'm going to take this Blender scene file and just click and drag that right into the Assets folder. And now let's go ahead and take that and drag it into the scene. And there it is. So I'll go to the Move tool by pressing the W key, and I'm going to move this around until it comes over here and I can fit it onto one of these pieces here. And it looks like it's a bit small. And if I push the play button and I come around here and I take a look at it, I can see, yeah, it does look a little too small. And this is good to know. I think this is one of the great things about using something like Blender and Unity together, is it's so easy to move files back and forth to really test the scene before you get going on it. So I'll go ahead and stop the game here. And what we've learned is that having our cylinder at 4 units high isn't quite big enough. So I'm going to go back to Blender now, and I'll select this object, and let's increase the scale to 4 now. And that will increase it to 8 meters high. And I'm going to save this as a new Blender file by going to File, Save As. And I'll just, in this window here, press the plus key on the number pad, and that will increment the scene file name. And I'll click Save. And now let's go back to Unity and drag that new file in. Now I'll take this and pull this into the scene, and here we go. So now we've got our test building with 8 meters high. So it appears that we need to split the difference. We've got 4, we've got 8. Let's try it with 6. So I'll go back to Blender, change the scale down to maybe 3. Go to File, Save As, increment the file name, and let's go to Unity and drag that one in as well. And that's looking a little bit more the size that we want. So I'll hit play to go into the game, and we can look around and see. So yeah, this one looks a little too small. That one a little too big, and this one is just right. So now we've got a good sense of how big our standard buildings should be as we create them in Blender.